He was a pagan and served the devil before converting. He is known as the patron saint of travelers. You might already know who I'm talking about. If you thought of Saint Christopher, you're right. Here are 11 facts about him. 11. Original name. Saint Christopher, one of the most revered saints in Christian tradition, has a life story deeply marked by transformation and spiritual quest. Originally, he was born with the name Reprobo, a name that suggests a condition of disapproval or separation from divine grace, which contrasts sharply with his future destiny as a saint. Reprobo was a Canaanite, a geographical indication placing him in the ancient region of Canaan, a territory frequently associated in the Bible with pagan peoples who were outside the original covenant with God made with the people of Israel. Besides his geographical origin, Reprobo was also the son of a pagan king, which means he grew up in an environment that worshipped gods different from the Christian God. Reprobo's life began to change when he decided to seek the most powerful king in the world to serve. His spiritual and physical journey was intense, eventually leading him to encounter Jesus Christ, whom he recognized as the true King and Lord. This transformation from Reprobo to Christopher, meaning one who carries Christ, symbolizes a radical conversion from the darkness of paganism to the light of Christianity. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe to avoid missing any facts about the saints. 10. Meaning of the name. The name Christopher carries a deeply symbolic and spiritual meaning, one who carries Christ. This designation is not just a title but a direct reflection of the saint's life and mission. The story of Saint Christopher is wrapped in legends and traditions that highlight his role as the bearer of Christ. One of the most well-known narratives is that Christopher, in his quest to serve the most powerful king, ended up serving a Christian hermit who taught him about Christ. This hermit asked him to help people cross a dangerous river, using his impressive physical strength. During one of these crossings, a small boy asked for his help. Christopher, with his usual strength, placed the boy on his shoulders and began the crossing. As he progressed, the river grew more turbulent, and the boy seemed to get heavier. Christopher, despite his great strength, almost couldn't complete the crossing. When they finally reached the other side, the boy revealed his true identity. He was Christ, and the heavy burden Christopher felt represented the weight of the world's sins. This revelation transformed Reprobo into Christopher, literally the bearer of Christ. This event not only marked Christopher's conversion but also defined his mission and legacy. Carrying Christ on his shoulders symbolized carrying the Christian faith and divine love, a burden that may seem heavy but is carried with God's grace. The name Christopher thus became a symbol of service, sacrifice, and the powerful transformation that faith can bring into a person's life. 9. Beginning of the conversion. The beginning of Saint Christopher's conversion is a striking story of the search for truth and true power. Christopher, originally named Reprobo, was known for his extraordinary physical strength and desire to serve the greatest and most powerful king in the world. This quest for power and truth drove him to leave the pagan king he served, a decision marking the start of his spiritual transformation. Christopher began his journey believing he should serve only the most powerful king in the world. Initially, he found a king who seemed powerful but soon realized that this king feared the devil, leading Christopher to conclude that the devil must be more powerful. Determined to serve the stronger one, Christopher joined the devil. However, during his travels, he noticed that the devil was afraid of Jesus Christ, especially when encountering crosses and Christian symbols. This observation was a crucial turning point for Christopher. He understood that if the devil, whom he considered the most powerful, feared Jesus Christ, then Christ must be even more powerful. Determined to find and serve this true king, Christopher abandoned his service to the devil and began his search for Christ. This quest led him to a Christian hermit, who instructed him in the Christian faith and baptized him. From that moment on, Christopher dedicated his life to serving Christ, helping people cross a dangerous river, where he finally had the revelation of Christ in the form of a boy he carried on his shoulders. Leave your prayer request in the comments so that Saint Christopher may intercede for it before God. 8. Encounter with the devil. Saint Christopher's encounter with the devil is a significant chapter in his conversion journey, reflecting the internal struggle between good and evil and the search for true power. He decided he wanted to serve the most powerful king in the world and initially believed that the devil was that king, due to the fear many had of him. Christopher joined the devil, believing that he represented the greatest power. However, during his travels with the devil, Christopher noticed something surprising. The devil trembled and recoiled whenever he saw a cross or any symbol related to Jesus Christ. This intrigued Christopher, who began to question the true nature of the devil's power. Curious and determined to find the truth, Christopher confronted the devil about his fear. The devil admitted that he feared Christ, as Christ was infinitely more powerful. This moment was a turning point for Christopher. He realized that if even the devil, whom he believed to be the embodiment of power, feared Christ, then Christ must be the true king and the most powerful being of all. Determined to find and serve this true power, Christopher abandoned the devil and set out in search of Jesus Christ. This act of leaving the devil symbolizes the rejection of evil and the irresistible attraction of good and truth. Christopher was then guided to a Christian hermit, who instructed him in the Christian faith, initiating him into the path of true service and devotion. 7. Miracle of the Staff. The miracle of Saint Christopher's staff is a powerful story that symbolizes Christ's presence and the depth of the saint's faith. This event occurred after Christopher had found and decided to serve Christ, recognizing him as the true king and the most powerful being. Christopher, on his new mission to help people cross a dangerous river, used a staff for support and guidance through the turbulent waters. The hermit who had instructed him in the Christian faith had told Christopher that his mission of charity and service would be blessed by God. At a significant moment in his journey, Christopher, in an act of faith and perhaps exhaustion after helping numerous people, planted his staff in the ground. To everyone's surprise, Christopher's staff began to bloom and produce leaves and fruit. This miracle was interpreted as a clear sign of divine presence and approval. The blossoming staff was not just a physical wonder but a profound symbol of the new life and spiritual vitality Christopher had found in Christ. Just as the dry staff came to life, Christopher's previously barren and directionless life was now flourishing with faith and divine grace. This event served to further strengthen Christopher's faith and that of those around him. He became a living testimony to Christ's transforming power and the truth of his presence among men. The miracle of the staff symbolizes that with true faith, even what seems lifeless and barren can be renewed and bear fruit. 6. Resistance to martyrdom. After his conversion to Christianity and his commitment to serve Christ, Christopher faced severe persecution from pagan authorities who did not accept his new faith. His resistance to martyrdom became a testament to his devotion and God's miraculous intervention in his life. Christopher was subjected to various forms of torture, but one of the most impressive was when he was bound to a metal bench that was heated to the point of melting. Despite the intense heat that should have caused severe injuries or even death, Christopher remained unharmed. The metal bench, instead of burning his flesh, melted beneath him, demonstrating the divine protection surrounding him. This event not only showcased Christopher's physical and spiritual strength but also served as a clear sign of God's power protecting him from harm. Christopher's miraculous survival of such extreme torture inspired many around him, strengthening the faith of persecuted Christians and challenging the authority of the pagan persecutors. In addition to this torture, Christopher faced other forms of martyrdom. He was flogged, beaten, and placed in a prison without food or water, but in all these situations, he resisted with courage and determination. His faith in Christ was his greatest weapon and protection, allowing him to overcome all adversities. 5. Suspended arrows. The episode of the suspended arrows in Saint Christopher's story is a miraculous event that highlights both divine protection and God's justice. After his conversion to Christianity, Christopher faced intense persecution and torture from pagan authorities. One of the most notable attempts at execution occurred when soldiers were ordered to shoot arrows at him. When the arrows were launched, something extraordinary happened. They remained suspended in the air without hitting Christopher. This astonishing event left everyone present amazed and astonished, as it clearly demonstrated that Christopher was under divine protection. The arrows, which were meant to be instruments of his death, became symbols of God's miraculous intervention. But the miracle did not end there. One of the arrows fired returned in a supernatural manner and wounded the king who had ordered Christopher's torture, blinding him. This event was interpreted as an act of divine justice, showing that the evil the king intended against Christopher turned back upon him. The king's blindness served as a powerful sign that God was on Christopher's side, protecting him and showing that divine justice would prevail. The king and soldiers' reaction to this miracle was one of astonishment and fear. For many, it was a clear sign that Christopher was truly under God's protection and that his faith was unshakable. This event not only strengthened Christopher's faith but also inspired many others to believe in the power and justice of God. 4. Prophecy and healing of the king. One of the most remarkable episodes is the prophecy and healing of the king who tortured him, showcasing not only Christopher's resilience but also God's mercy through him. Before his execution, Saint Christopher made an impressive prophecy. He claimed that his blood, shed in his martyrdom, would have the power to heal the king's blind eye, the same king who had ordered his torture and attempts at execution. This prophecy was a sign of his unwavering faith and belief in divine justice and mercy. After being decapitated, Christopher's blood was collected as per his prophecy. Moved by desperation or perhaps the hope that there was true power in the saint's words, the king used Christopher's blood on his blind eye. To everyone's surprise and astonishment, the king's eye was healed. This miracle not only fulfilled Christopher's prophecy but also served as a powerful testimony to God's power and Christopher's sanctity. The healing of the king, a man responsible for brutal tortures against Christopher, demonstrated the mercy and forgiveness that are central to the Christian message. The martyr's blood, which was meant to symbolize his defeat, became a symbol of healing and redemption. 3. Protector of travelers and drivers. Saint Christopher is widely venerated as the protector of travelers and drivers, a devotion rooted in a powerful and symbolic legend about his life. According to tradition, Christopher dedicated himself to helping people cross a dangerous river, using his enormous physical strength to ensure everyone reached the other side safely. The most famous legend associated with Saint Christopher tells that one day he carried a child on his shoulders to cross the river. During the crossing, the child's weight increased extraordinarily, becoming almost unbearable. When they finally reached the other side, Christopher discovered that the child was, in fact, Jesus Christ in disguise. Christ revealed that the weight Christopher felt represented the weight of the world that he carried. Having carried Christ, Christopher received the name that means, "He who carries Christ." This symbolic story gave rise to the devotion to Saint Christopher as the protector of travelers. His strength and dedication to helping others cross a dangerous path were seen as ideal qualities for a protector of those traveling, facing the perils and uncertainties of the roads. Drivers, in particular, have adopted Saint Christopher as their patron saint, seeking his intercession for protection against accidents and dangers during their journeys. Images and medals of Saint Christopher often depict him carrying the child Jesus on his shoulders while crossing a river. These representations serve as a visual reminder of the legend and Christopher's role as a protector. Many drivers keep these images in their vehicles, believing that Saint Christopher will protect and guide them safely on their journeys. The devotion to Saint Christopher as the protector of travelers also extends to other forms of travel, such as hiking and pilgrimages. Churches and chapels dedicated to him are often found along pilgrimage routes, providing a place for prayer and reflection for travelers. 2. Feast Day. Saint Christopher is widely venerated on July 25th, a significant date for many Christians around the world. Celebrated as the patron saint of drivers and travelers, Saint Christopher is known for his special protection over those who are on a journey, offering safety and blessings during their travels. The tradition of associating him with travelers and drivers reflects his ancient history as a saint who helped transport people through dangers and difficulties. The devotion to Saint Christopher is particularly strong among drivers, who frequently pray for a safe journey. In many communities, July 25th is marked by special vehicle blessings, where drivers bring their cars to be blessed in churches. These ceremonies symbolize the invocation of divine protection to face the dangers of the roads and ensure safety during travels. 1. Canonization. The canonization of Saint Christopher is not as well documented as that of many other saints. This is partly due to his legendary origins and the various versions of his life that have circulated over the centuries. Saint Christopher is often associated with a series of traditions and stories that blend legend with history. Historically, he has been venerated since the early centuries of Christianity, and his cult spread widely during the Middle Ages. However, many specific details about his canonization process are unknown. This may be due to a lack of precise historical records or the nature of the traditions surrounding his figure. The Catholic Church generally recognizes Saint Christopher as a saint, and he is included in the Roman calendar of saints. His canonization is traditionally attributed to the early days of the Church, before the formal canonization processes we know today were established. However, the exact date and details of this process are not well documented. The veneration of Saint Christopher remains strong, especially in popular traditions and the devotion of drivers and travelers, who seek his protection and intercession during their journeys. We have reached the end of another story full of curiosities. Don't forget to leave in the comments which saint you would like to see featured on the channel. And until the next story.